Hey everybody, welcome back inside the Stash Report from the Stash Project. This is our monthly compilation video for October of 2018. For new folks to the channel, first of all, welcome. Second of all, we do these videos beginning of every single month to sort of give you a idea, a game plan as it were, for what you're going to spend your money on for the month. So we will discuss all of the relevant expected kit releases for the month of October 2018. As always, kits can be delayed and whatnot, but for the most part, this year at least, everything has been getting out relatively within a reasonable time frame. So we have a few things domestically, because at this point, again, around Revell is just beginning to start up. What we're hearing is that some of the major frontline distributors are getting in their first shipments of the Revell kits that would be basically restocks. There's nothing in any of those shipments as of right now that is new, so the Grease Ford isn't in there yet or anything else like that. Basically just sort of getting a supply of the kits that are sold out around the country in. We expect the beginning of this month, or at least by the end of this month, perhaps to get some of those new kits, but without any kind of firm foundation, I can't, put them on this list. So if they show up, of course, we'll let you know. If not, we're just going to go with what we have here. So the domestic stuff, of course, being the round 2, reissues, because that's what round 2 does. AMT, they have 2 kits for the month of October, and they're going to be a reissue of the 2009 Dodge Challenger. That's one of the showroom replicas model kits. Basically, it's an unassembled promotional model. For people who are unfamiliar with those, the showroom replicas, of course, were new back when these cars were new in the 2010s, early 20-teens, if you will. But they're just sort of every now and then reissuing one. This one kind of looks like it's be molded in a dark blue or maybe a purple-ish color. There's no real literature for the kit. It was just up there as being something that's going to come out in October. They're also going to be reissuing the 1994 Ford F-150 Lightning. It's, of course, the first version of the SVT. I guess technically it wasn't the SVT Lightning in 1994, but the special vehicle team's pickups that would run through the 90s and 2000s. This kit does have some parts that are restored, as the short wheelbase, well, not short wheelbase, but the short box standard cab pickup was an annual kit, and there was a 1995 version of that kit released. There was also a 1994 version of that kit released, and there were parts that were specific to the Ford Lightning, obviously, and apparently some of those parts were either gated off, damaged, or whatever when the kit was rerun as the annual for the next year, because back in the day, as the case was for any annual kit, they were not planned to ever be reissued. They were updated every single year, and so the Ford Lightning was a one and done kit. Part of the reason why it can be pricey on eBay if you're going that way for that type of kit. But retro box art being, of course, that thing I can't stand, where they're going to put something from the 1990s in a retro box art. It's not exactly retro. It's pretty nice looking box art. I'll give them that. Like I said, some parts tooled up to take it back to the Ford Lightning, as it were, and be nice to see if they do anything else with any of the other 1990s annual kits. From that, I hate to say from that era because I'm being repetitive. 1990s from that era, but any of the other annual kits, we've seen reissues of certain things from that time period. The problem again with annual kits, you have to, in order to put them back to a certain specific thing, you would have to retool some parts or ungate some parts or whatever the case may be. And then the last thing from round 2 is going to be from Polar Lights, and they're going to reissue their Ecto 1, the Cadillac ambulance, as it were, from the Ghostbusters movie. This will come with a Slimer figure that's sort of going to be, they say, pre-painted on the box art. It just looks like it's sort of molded in a translucent green, and it has sort of a pedestal base molded into it. So it's, it's for kids, and it becomes now the third thing that has a resin figure. Well, I believe this one's injected, but at any rate, it's the third thing that round 2 will release with figures in as many months. So they must feel there's some sort of market for that. That'll take us overseas for the rest of this stuff. There's a few new things that are going to pop up here, and that's always exciting. So over at Aoshima, these are going to be reissues, stuff that are boxed into the model car lineup. You have a reissue of the 1997 Toyota Aristo Vertex Edition, been a little while since that's been around. A reissue of the 1996 Mitsubishi Delica Space Gear, that is the more rounder of the two four-wheel drive Mitsubishi minivans that, or I should really technically full-size vans in Japan, that Aoshima has reissued in the last 3 years. They're going to reissue their 1995 Y33 Nissan Cedric Nissan Gloria Gran Turismo Ultima kit. This will be another kit that'll be just like one that we're going to talk about in this week's stash report, where the body is the same for both kits. There are a few interchangeable pieces that change it from a Gloria to a Cedric, mostly grills and taillights and things like that, and obviously trim and decals. But will be since the mid-2000s, since the last time that kit has been around. So that's, you know, if you're a collector of Japanese sedans, some of the stuff that they've been doing is, I don't know if exciting is really the word for it, but certainly interesting. And then the one sort of modified reissue from Aoshima we expect for October will be the Pancetta, or the Pachetta Tempesto, rather, version of the Pagani Warrior. So this is going to have some new parts added to it, mostly some front splitter, rear splitter action, as well as a couple of specific engine pieces and a new set of wheels. We're actually going to show you some parts for this in another upcoming video that we're going to do about the All Japan Model and Hobby Show, so stay tuned for that if you're interested in the kit. Also, this month, that is, you know, a exception from the just reprint, as Japan likes to call their reissues, that are just a restock type of deal, would be the Nissan 330 Generation Cedric and 1980s Nissan Skyline two-door kits that are going to be in the More Grand Champions series of kits. So we did the Grand Champions kits back over the summer. Now we're moving into the next set of 16 kits, which are called More Grand Champions, as far as what the marketing tag was attached to them. So the first two of those have come out this past week, which again will be a regular weekly discussion on the stash report. Now for the rest of the stuff, this is all just restocks, so nothing new, just reissues. The Volkswagen Beetle 1303S, the 1982 Celica XX, which we would of course here called the Celica Supra, the 2000 Nissan Elgrand Fabulous VIP van, reissue of the 17-inch BBS RG and 19-inch Advan GT and Advan RG3 wheel sets. Reissue of the Cedric 2000 four-door Grand Champion and Skyline 2000 Turbo Grand Champion. So the Grand Champion kits are starting to be reissued as the more popular ones sell out. A reissue of the Lamborghini Murcielago and its photo etch set, and that'll be the street car, not the race car. Reissue of the Rin Hyojo and Ryosaki Takahashi Initial D Battle Series kits. These were the ones that were about 2 years ago, right around Christmas time. Had new parts added and updated to it for a specific scene from the Initial D Comics series. And Hyogo's is an R32, and Takahashi's is a 3rd gen RX-7. Also a reissue of the Back to the Future DeLoreans from the first, second, and third movies. Reissue of the Liberty Walk Nissan Laurel, and a reissue of the Nissan GTR Liberty Walk version 1 kit. So that's the original kit out of the now 4 Liberty Walk R35s that there are. Over at Fujimi, they're going to reissue the Velfire Toyota van in black. Now that is a straight reissue of the kit as it came originally. And they're also going to reissue the Velfire Toyota van in a white pearl. So this is the same kit, just molded in a different color. They're going to reissue the Suzuki Hustler kit in both its Passion Orange and its Summer Blue Metallic molded in color things. These kits, and it's like, well, those have been done. These kits are going to come with a set of side cutters, or sprue nippers, as you would call them, included with the kit. So that's kind of an interesting twist. These next kits, which the Velfire is part of, which is the first one, technically, of the modern version of these, and then the Hustler being the second one, You know, they're snap tights, they're molded in color, they have the Mylar stickers for all the trim and things like that. They're designed for beginning modelers, young modelers, things like that. And so throwing a set of side cutters in there, kind of an interesting little, like I said, twist on the introduction modelers. One of the more important tools, I will say, time in, time out, you can own as a hobbyist is a pair of side cutters. Now, obviously, the ones that they're going to throw in a off-the-shelf kit are probably going to be set like of sort of Zuron style cutters. I can't grab mine because I knocked my camera over, but they're the sort of the clunkier, bigger handled ones. I always say, you know, there's God Hand, of course, we really spend a lot of money on some side cutters, but Tamiya makes a really nice set that I prefer so far out of the things I've tried. And, you know, obviously, I still have a set of Zurons, so I mean, I still use both. The Tamiya ones cuts a lot cleaner and the point's a lot finer, so you can get into a lot more nooks and crannies. The Zuron comes in handy when you're gonna chop up sprue, like if you want to paint something on a sprue, like a mirrors or something like that, where the attachment point to the sprue is also the part that's going to go into the body of the kit, or something along those lines where I just want to cut a chunk of the sprue with the part still attached to it and airbrush it still attached to the sprue, because when I cut it off the sprue again, where I'm cutting it off is not going to affect the quality of the paint, because it is, like I said, I'm babbling because I have an example of this, but I can't find a good. I don't see it up in front of me here, so it must not be. It must be in my storage box. But the mirrors for the Toyota that I'm working on, they are molded to the runner by the attachment point that will glue into the body. So if I wanted to, which I'm not, just because of how tiny the mirrors are, if you wanted to, you could cut the sprue, you know, the chunk of the sprue out with the mirror still attached to it, airbrush it that way, and then cut the mirrors off, and it wouldn't affect the overall quality of the paint on the mirrors, because the attachment point is going to go into the body. It can go post A into hole B, as it were, and you'll never see it again. So the Zurons are real good for that because they're big and beefy. But anyway, the point being, it's kind of interesting to see them include some tools with a model kit for a change. Another reissue will be the McLaren F1 Longtail. This one's going to be in the 1998 Le Mans EMI livery. This kit is going to be what is known as a deluxe kit, so it's going to have some photo etch added to it that did not come with it in the first runs of those kits in the. Oh, geez, when did those kits come out now? I guess it would be 2010, 2011, 2012, somewhere in that neighborhood when those kits rolled out. And then a reissue of their Mini Cooper S. I'm still waiting to see what this is going to be, necessarily, because it does show a picture of the right-hand drive only import version that Japan got, but the literature for it says it has the dashboards for either kit. So be interested to see what you get there. I would be interested in a left-hand drive dashboard and wipers out of it for the John Cooper Works Mini Cooper that I have from Fuji. Over at Hasegawa, getting a reissue of the Toyota Celica GT4 RC. That is the street version of the rally car. Reissue of the Jordan 192 F1 1992 season car. That's a 1/24th scale F1 car. Reissue of the Watanabe Dunlop Reynard 89D, and that is a 1/24 scale Formula 3000 kit. Reissue of the 1998 Safari Rally Toyota Corolla WRC kit. A reissue of the 1992 Kaisho Corolla E101 JTCC car. And a reissue of the 1994 STP Kaishi Honda Civic Ferio JTCC car. Also added to this list will be the first of the kits that are featured and promoted for the fall season as far as the All Japan Model and Hobby Show goes. And it'll be something we'll talk about, of course, in that video. But that is the 1988 JTCC season Nissan Rico sponsored Nissan R31 GTS R. Also, overseas from the other manufacturers, you have the release of the new tool Audi Quattro S1E2 Group B rally car and its photo etch detail upset from BMAX. We'll show you some pictures of that in the All Japan Hobby video, as well as from New Hobby, the BMAX but not BMAX front company that deals with projects outside of the scope between BMAX's relationship with Aoshima and has a relationship with Platts instead. is the 2017 season 24 Hours of Nürburgring BMW M6 GT3. So this is going to be a reissue of the GT3 M6 kit. Waiting for final confirmation, but I believe that this kit is going to have a regular windshield in it, because the 24 Hours of Nürburgring cars do not use a windshield timing and position indicator the way that the 24 Hours of Spa car does, or well, the 24 Hours of Spa cars do. So I believe it's going to be a blank windshield. Now that's great, because for a lot of the projects for which there are decals for the M6s, you don't need that in-windshield thing, and there's no way to take it out because it is engraved into the windshield of the 24 Hours of Spa kit. The timing system on the 24 Hours of Nürburgring car is actually built into the windshield header, like the part that would be if you ever see a 24 Hours Nürburgring car, then you know that the majority of them have a windshield header that has a Gran Turismo, the PlayStation game, windshield header, sort of a black strip that goes up there. It functions basically as a window tint. And the timing position indicator is built into the far right-hand corner of it, would be the passenger side of the car. Those appear to be done as decals in this kit, which would lead me to believe that the windshield has been fixed. Now, when this kit was built for its test shots, there was no window glass provided for it. So that would also indicate to me that perhaps the windows are new. The other new piece to this kit will be the front fender vents. There are a set of very, very prominent, if you look at Nürburgring M6's, very, very prominent set of fender vents that are directly above the tires. I believe are for brake cooling rather than anything else. They're not intake vents. They are definitely slanted to go, to put air out towards the car. Those are sort of, sorta molded into the body. If you have a 24 Hours of Nürburgring car, you flip it over, you'll see there are indents in the body where you would cut those, cut the body to put those in, but the parts themselves are not actually in the 24 Hours of Nürburgring car. So I believe I know those parts, so I've seen the parts. The parts will come with that. Now, whether or not they're going to mold the fenders open or closed is also an unknown at this point. The body that was provided for the test shot was just a regular M6 from the 24 Hours of Nürburgring, or 24 Hours of Spa car. So it'll remain to be seen. I would personally prefer to cut the fenders open, simply because it'll be a great deal easier to build other versions of the car if I don't have to sort of mix and match kits, if you know what I mean. Like, I don't need open fenders on every single flat windshield car that I have to build. And I have one set of decals that I can actually use the 24 Hour Nürburgring car, or the 24 Hours of Spa car rather, with that windshield position indicator in it, but I need fender vents. So, I mean, I can swap a few things around, but I really don't want to buy equal number of two different kits to swap the bodies around, because the bodies have a hole in it on the one and not the other. So that remains to be seen. Of the Nürburgring car itself, it's going to have 3 different decal liveries in it. One will be the Falcon presentation livery, which is pretty much the same livery that the car runs any other time, except it just has a sort of a generic number placard. It's going to have the 2017 24 Hours of Nürburgring livery, which in the case of the placards are the trapezoidal shaped ones. They changed the shape of them in 2017 from being just the squares that they always were to a more modern, sleek number board, I guess you want to call it. And it's also going to have the 2017 VLN series placards in it, which is the race series that runs only at Nürburgring, like 6 to 8, depends on the year, it seems like, events strictly at Nürburgring. And the Falcon tire, that's who the livery is for, runs both, obviously ran the 24 Hours car, and they also run the VLN series pretty much exclusively. They don't have a car in Blancpain or anything else, so they run Nuremberg a lot. That will also have its own photo etch set specific to that car. I don't know exactly what about it will be different. I haven't seen a picture of it. They may include like a photo etch version of those vents, because in real life they're very, very, narrow pieces of carbon fiber venting. So it could possibly be that they'll include a vent that way. Otherwise, I don't see anything within the kit itself that would be any different than the actual already existing M6. And that, guys, I believe will wrap up the kits for the month of October. So now that you guys know what to expect, what you're going to be spending your money on, good luck and Godspeed for that. There's some very interesting things coming in terms of race cars. Obviously, the M6, the 3 JTCC cars, if you're following our JTCC season, series of videos, the Quattro, very, very desirable Group B car. And at least for me, that's pretty much it. There's a few things that Aoshima could have sold me if I hadn't already bought them. You guys will recall the Y32, Y33 Gloria Cedric thing, me going out and finding original copies of those in Japan and importing them back to the United States secondhand. I obviously don't need new kits. I already have the old ones. So, yeah, should be a fun month. Not very, very expensive, but a little bit of money there. Actually, it may not be at all. There's a whole behind-the-scenes thing going on. Nothing serious, don't worry, but of just possibilities and things that could be happening here that will be very exciting, but will also be sort of crunchy on the budget there until through the end of the year. So we'll see what's going to happen with that. At any rate, guys, hope you enjoyed it. Hope you had a great weekend, and we'll see you guys on the other side.